Hello everyone. They lived and laughed and loved and left. An amazing quote that can be applied to everyone in this world. Let's discuss about the person who quoted these lines. My name is Renju Varghese from 1st MA English and welcome to the video. James Augustus Aloysius Joyce was an Irish novelist, short story writer, poet and a literary critic, born on 2nd February 1882 in Dublin. He contributed to the modernist and avant-garde movements and was one of the most influential writers of the 20th century. Avant-garde is a French term used to describe a person or a work that is experimental, radical or unorthodox with respect to art, culture or society. He attended the Jesuit Clongowes Wood College in County Kildare, the O'Connell School run by Christian Brothers, and graduated from the University College of Dublin in 1902. In 1904, he met his life partner Nora Bernard. They emigrated to Europe and he worked in a city called Pola and then moved to Trieste in Austria-Hungary. While living in Trieste, he published his collection of poems called Chamber Music and his short story collection Dubliners, and began serially publishing the portrait of the artist as a young man in the English magazine Egoist. During the First World War, he lived in Zurich, Switzerland and worked on his novel Ulysses. Ulysses was first published in Paris in 1922, but its publication in the UK and the United States was prohibited because of its perceived obscenity. But copies of the book were smuggled into both countries and it was finally legalized. Ulysses ranks high in the list of great books of literature. In 1923, he started his another major work, Finnegan's Wake, and published it 16 years later in 1939. Dubliners is a collection of 15 short stories, first published in 1914, that form a naturalistic depiction of the Irish middle-class life in and around the city in the early 20th century. The tales were written when Irish nationalism and the search for national identity was at its peak. The stories center on Joyce's idea of an epiphany. Many of the characters in Dubliners later appear in minor roles in Ulysses. A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, published in 1916, is a shortened rewrite of the abandoned novel Stephen Hero. It is a Quinze la roman, a kind of coming-of-age novel depicting the childhood and adolescence of the protagonist Stephen Dedalus and his gradual growth into artistic self-consciousness. It is both an autobiographical fiction of the author and also a biopic of the protagonist. Techniques such as stream of consciousness, interior monologue, and reference to the character's psychic reality are evident throughout this novel. He had an early interest in the theatre. Thus, he published one play called Exiles in 1918, which he started to write shortly after the outbreak of the First World War in 1914. His first full-length collection, Chamber Music, had 36 short lyrics. It led to his inclusion in the Imagist anthology. His other poems include Gas from a Burner, Pomes Peniage, and H. Pouver, which was written in 1932 to mark the birth of his grandson and the recent death of his father. These were published in Collected Poems by Black Sun Press in 1936. The action of Ulysses takes place in Dublin in a single day. Much of the story occurs inside the minds of the characters as interior monologues and soliloquies. It consists of 18 episodes, each covering roughly 1 hour of the day. Joyce structured each chapter to refer to the individual episodes in Homer's Odyssey. Ulysses sets the characters and incidents of Homer's Odyssey in 1904 Dublin, representing Odysseus, Penelope, and Telemachus in his characters of Leopold Bloom, his wife Molly Bloom, and Stephen Dedalus. Ulysses can be read as a study of Dublin in 1904, exploring various aspects of the city life, dwelling, etc. Joyce's use of stream of consciousness, literary allusion, and free dream association was pushed to the limit in Finnegan's Wake. Joyce's writing transforms traditional ideas of plot and character development through his wordplay, allowing the book to be read non-linearly. The work was written in a peculiar and obscure English based mainly on complex multi-level puns. The metaphysics of Giordano Bruno plays an important role in Finnegan's Wake. Giambattista Vico's cyclical view of history, in which civilization rises from chaos, passes through theocratic, aristocratic, and democratic phases, and then lapses back into chaos, structure the narrative. It opens with the words, "Riveren, past Eve and Adams, from swerve of shore to bend of bay, brings us by the commodious wickets of recirculation back to hearth castles and environs," and ends, "Away alone, a last, a loved, along the." In other words, the book ends with the beginning of a sentence and begins with the end of the same sentence, turning the book into a great cycle. On 11th January 1941, Joyce underwent a surgery in Zurich for a perforated duodenal ulcer. He fell into coma. He awoke at 2 a.m. on 13th of January and asked a nurse to call his wife and son. 15 minutes later, he died, less than a month before his 59th birthday. So, what did you guys find common in the works of James Joyce? Any guess? You have 5 seconds to think. The answer to my question is Dublin, because Dublin is the place which James Joyce loved the most and hated the most. I hope this video would be helpful for you guys. Thank you for listening and have a wonderful day.